Good day, everyone, and welcome to Home at the Hollow. My name is Glennis, and welcome to my kitchen. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. Today's recipe is one of those that I kind of worked through, so to speak, to make it my own, but yet stay true to its original kind of recipe. This is for a very humble sandwich, but I want to preface this by saying this is in honor of a subscriber that I hold absolutely near and dear to me, and this is to honor one of their parents. And I know that I have several different recipes here in my home that I use to honor, like my grandmother. My grandmother's, I think, specialty was a pound cake. So it's not very often I make and bake a pound cake, but when I do, of course, I always think of her and, you know, what she meant and still means to me. I also yearly, at least once a year, honor my dad. One of his favorite cakes that I baked was a coconut cake. Every birthday I made a coconut cake for him, sometimes just, you know, a simple coconut cake, sometimes with a lemon filling. He adored lemons and strawberries and, you know, a lot like me, or I'm a lot like him. And so at least once a year I will either make a coconut cake with all the trimmings, and sometimes like a strawberry pound cake. That was one of his favorites too, because he always knew if he put me in the kitchen with a bag of flour, that's what's going to happen. But this is just a very small way of honoring and remembering a subscriber's parent. And without further ado, an oven-baked, easy Reuben sandwich. I am preheating my oven to 375, and I have a confession for y'all. This is probably the second or third time in my life that I've bought anything like this. Now these are just the Crescent Rolls, and if that's what you got, that's what you got. But what they had actually was one that, you know, wasn't totally, it was supposed to be for a pan. So we're gonna just see how this is going to work out. I've got a 9 by 13, and it looks like it's going to roll out really nicely. And that's really, it's just that easy. It was lightly greased, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to bake this at 375 about 8 minutes or so. I don't want to go overboard with it, but about 8 minutes, and it'll seem underdone, but there's a few more steps. So while I'm waiting on my crust to bake, I've got a 14.5 ounce can of sauerkraut that I've drained, and I have really just taken my cheesecloth and wrung every bit of moisture out of it. I don't want a soggy sandwich. I've got a half a cup of Thousand Island dressing. I made this. This is not something that I would normally have in my refrigerator, but I will drop the ingredients below. It's really super easy and just that simple. I'm going to just allow this to set, and we're going to wait on the crust to come out. But I've got a pound of shaved corned beef, and these that I will have to, I think it's okay for them to have a little bit of perforation on the top as the top crust. It'll just, I'll let some of the steam out. And a teaspoon of caraway seed and an egg white, and we are well on our way. And of course, let me grab the cheese and we'll get this put together. I've got my other, not really a sheet, but the Crescent Rolls. I have never had luck making these things. I've tried a couple of times, and it's just a dough I'm not familiar working with, but just kind of press it together a little bit, show it a little bit of love, a little bit, and get your egg white ready. Fresh out of the oven, and it is just really very, very lightly browned. Very slightly browned, and that's okay. You don't want it too crazy done ahead of time. I've got my egg white and my brush. My crust is cooling off just slightly, but just a little tip: if you have a yolk, of course you're going to have a yolk left, but if you're not quite sure, leave it in a small bowl container with add a bit of water, cover it, have it for breakfast, like for breakfast the next morning, and there you go. So you don't waste a yolk. So I've got about 8 ounces of sliced Swiss cheese. This is cooled just very, very slightly, but you want to use half of 8 ounces, 4 ounces of your sliced Swiss cheese. And layer it like that. Oh. Your corned beef. This is really so nice. Just get all of that in there. This is 3/4 of a pound. If you want to do more, if you want to do less, just give it a good spread. That's my oven talking to me. And it's totally ready. I'm going to bake this, once I get it finished, 375, 12 to 16 minutes until the top is golden brown. Now, I've got the sauerkraut and the Thousand Island that I mixed together just a few moments ago. Just kind of spread that as you can. And this is, the dressing is nice because, you know exactly, pretty much, what you have put into it. And of course, if you make your own mayonnaise, so much for the better, right? I personally don't use mayonnaise enough to I could try, I guess I could try. It would be interesting. And there we go. And the rest of the cheese is going to go on top of this. And I have, let's see, I think we are there. And then that's going to fall. And believe it or not, I did have these pinched together. I don't know, I have my egg whites that have been lightly whipped. I'm just going to brush this on here. It'll help brown it off really very, very pretty. And so, knowing me, I'm gonna let this get really, really brown. I personally like to know if something like this is like really cooked. I like brown in this situation. And probably, you don't have to use any kind of caraway seeds. You don't have to. I'm going to add a few. Not a terrible lot, but a few. 375, 12 to 16 minutes. So this is at 15 minutes, and we're going to have a look. And I think you guys can see it's, brown, but in some of the spots it looks a little raw. That's 16 minutes. I'm going to let it go for another 5 minutes. So this is fresh, just out of the oven. I've been loosening it up a bit here and there and making sure these are cut. As you can see, And I'm glad I'm not serving this, but as you can see, that's why it's really super important to pinch these together. But I guess in a bind, you just kind of have to say, yeah, that'll be okay for today. I think it actually makes them a little bit more interesting looking, don't you? And, you know, I probably baked this probably 25 to 30 minutes on 375. I really like to get a good, because this is, you know, this type of dough is not going to get hard on you, I don't think. I mean, that depends, of course, but let's see if we can get some of this out of here. Okay, there we go. With cheese going everywhere, but this looks absolutely delicious. And you know, I think that you probably could freeze this if you know, before baking, I think that you probably could. I would give it a go, but to have something like that in the freezer saying, oh yeah, you know, and you have unexpected company. I have a bowl of chips standing by, and I hope that y'all give this a try. This really does look so delicious. This is very good. Give it a try, and thank you for joining me here home at the Hollow. Goodbye, y'all. I want to just, you know, really kind of close this out. The sandwich, even though, you know, I'm really not used to using like the Crescent Rolls in the tubes. That's like the second or third time in my life that I've ever used them. But they made it so much easier, and it was, you know, it's just one of those things you can throw together a sandwich, and, you know, if you want to, throw it in the freezer and wait until, you know, you're kind of ready to enjoy it. But I really want to say I enjoyed this so much. If you haven't subscribed, oh my goodness, I hope you subscribe to my channel if you're enjoying my content. Each week, sometimes twice a week, it varies. I receive so much inspiration from so many of you, and I am so thankful for each and every one of you. But I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you give this a try. It was delicious. It was so good. And it was just a wonderful way of me saying, you know, honor your parents, your grandparents, whomever it is in your life that you miss terribly. Spend part of a day in the kitchen and think about them. And with that, I will say goodbye, and I hope that you join me here home at the Hollow. Goodbye, y'all.